Welcome to episode 3 of the Montreal Canadiens Cafe podcast with your host, Nick Lariviere, and my co host, Grant Gofredo. So let's start off by talking about these three last games Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What were your
All
thoughts
right.
on the games?
We got overtime points, so at least we didn't come out empty-handed. There's some positive player performances. There was a big overtime win that we had. I mean, it is versus Columbus. We have to, count that in and factor
Yeah.
that in. But points are points. It doesn't matter who they are against. Uh, if I'm working backwards,
Yeah. Yeah.
Utah was.
But
It wasn't that the fact that it was bad. It looked bad, but
they just they could not shoot on net. That was
they
their biggest
couldn't get a
issue.
shot off of it exactly.
There
And
was
they're
zero
yeah,
ability to shoot on net. Like everyone was missing the net. They did get a couple goals, but overall the play seemed sloppy. They could have done better.
yeah.
Um, it made me start to think that Slavkovsky on a fourth line does not work at all, or
I
it's
don't know
really
if it's punishment or not.
it was
If it's punishment, it's
it
punishment
was
though.
a punishment that didn't work, but because he put him with Doc, you're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
like
a big topic today.
I truly felt that the main topic was Martin St. Louis looking like he didn't know what to do on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, okay.
So I had to wipe my nose. That's all. Sorry, I didn't want to put that on camera.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, but yeah, no. So like you said, yeah, Doc is a big topic today.
Yeah,
Oof,
yeah,
yeah,
Doc. Honestly, I thought he played okay on
he did.
Tuesday
He
night
did.
against Utah. He played better than Slavkovsky, and I was very disappointed with Slavkovsky's play on Tuesday. I'm glad he had a huge game last
Yeah,
night. He was
yeah,
played amazing next to Gallagher.
yeah. Absolutely. And there's some positives there for sure. Like I mean, like I said, the Utah game, it didn't like you look at the game footage, you look at the highlights, you look at the way they played. It was an overall tight game,
It was,
but
yeah.
13 shots on goal. I mean,
You
that's
can't
for
you
a
can't do
game.
that.
Like
I'm
you're
sorry,
and
but
especially yeah. Go ahead.
you cannot take 13 shots. It's the lowest total since I think it was I saw something that said February 20 uh, uh 2009. It
Yeah, I
was
believe that. Like, are we going
ridiculous.
back to 2014 here? Like that. Like we don't even have Price as a goalie. Like you can't like no nothing against Montembeau. Like he's all right. He's a can call him an average goalie. But you can't have you can't be the team that goalies people. You're not that anymore. That's not your identity. Well, we can't go back to
Exactly.
2014. That didn't work.
No, and I mean, we don't have that team. We don't have the
We
goalies
don't have that
like that
team.
anymore. But the thing is, at least it showed that
It
Montembeau
did.
can play, and he
It
kept them
did.
in the
It
game.
did.
And speaking of goaltending, like maybe I had some tweets last night that were a little harsh on Caden Primo, but overall, he actually played a good game
He did.
for
He did.
himself. Like it was a good game for him compared to what he had done his last start against Buffalo, I think was his
Yeah.
last start,
He didn't play bad. Like
but
he
he could have done
played
better.
he could have done better, but he didn't play like he did like it wasn't necessarily him that cost him the game. You know what I
No,
mean?
no. I mean,
Exactly.
Justin Barron
Oh
leaving
yeah, yeah.
Mathieu Olivier all alone for
And
that play. That's
Columbus
not his.
Struble. Oh,
And then,
Columbus Struble got burnt. Oh boy,
oh
that
my
was
God, yeah.
brutal.
But it's okay because we got that back because Heineman burnt their defender. It
A
was
great
nice to see that.
a great
Heineman,
drive to the net.
again, like Heineman, like
Aggressive, like plays aggressive.
plays aggressive, has
Um,
a good shot, showed
has
he
a
has good
great shot.
hands.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that from him. What I
yeah.
knew was his
He could be
physicality and
something.
his shot.
Yeah,
That's all I thought
yeah,
he had. He showed a new level that he has. And
yeah.
the truth is, having Heineman helps the loss of Lehkonen a little, like
It
swallows the
does.
loss of
It does.
Lehkonen a little bit. Because the truth is, he plays that kind of style. He's gonna be a guy that's gonna play in your bottom six,
Yeah.
might be able to come up to your second line from time to time and take advantage of.
He played power play too a bit, no?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Lehkonen could have done that too. Lehkonen does
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
a power play two guy. Like I'm not saying that they're like superstars, but they're the kind of guys you need on your team in the bottom of your lineup, middle of your lineup that can help you through injury. When there's injuries, they move up the lineup. But mainly they're third or fourth liners who continuously
He's a great
get
depth
the
player in
job
my
done.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, like Lekanen, that's a great example. Yeah,
Yeah, like I saw someone say that and I thought, you know what, that's a great point.
he's
That
playing his spot. Yeah.
yeah, but
Uh,
it was nice to see the top of the line, the lineup finally produced last night. They were they were struggling, you know?
they were, and it was a good way. Like I find like the Columbus game was a good way to kind of start getting out of this kind
Yeah,
of stump that you're in. Maybe it's the
especially
holidays in the States.
especially
Maybe,
for a guy like Slavkovsky. 14
yeah,
games, no goals. Last time he had a goal is when I got this thing. Whoa.
yeah. You
When I got
tweeted it also
this
like it was
tweet
also
of him
oh
and
yeah, the sign that I was we were at the game. It's true.
yeah,
I remember that.
yeah, because why not? Why not get
Yeah,
one of those?
for sure. You mentioned also in one of your tweets of like it was the top three forwards that had all scored that game, which is you need that
What? Sorry?
in the game versus it was Columbus, I believe. All three of the top forwards scored.
Yeah, yeah,
That
exactly.
was a good goal.
Top,
Yeah, that's a good thing to have. Like
yeah, no, that's
your
it. That,
when your
that's
top
more of a
lines and when your star players wake up like that, it's a good way to get your team motivated.
yeah. That's what I was mentioning. Like going on, like they finally got out of their slump.
Yeah,
Suzuki, he had a couple, like he had two like really so games. I'd say Saturday against Vegas, he actually was the best player on the ice in the first period, but he disappeared
the
afterwards.
first period with Vegas, I didn't see anything wrong really. It
No,
was a
I thought they
pretty
could.
tight game. Yeah, the first period was pretty good.
We should have had a lead. We should have, if anything,
Yeah,
Suzuki should have had a goal.
yeah.
But the rest, and I saw a lot of people criticizing his game, but no one else showed up the rest of the game. Well, in the third period, we had guys like Gallagher. So
Past the third goal when it was 3-0, it was tough. And the shots as well. Like
yeah, that was
it
a
was
low shooting
18 to
game. But
8.
honestly, that game felt like we got a lot more outplayed, and you would think we had more shots against Utah based on the way they played. We're
Yeah,
making
you would think.
a lot of people are reacting about 13 shots, but the truth is the shots against Vegas were much worse, and like there
They
was
were
no real
the ratio anyway
chances. They
was
were
worse. Yeah,
getting
the ratio
dominated.
was worse, and just
Yeah, the whole game was
even
kind of
eh, like I said like earlier on, it didn't the shots didn't reflect how the game played in my opinion. Like it didn't look as bad as it does on the stat sheet. Now, 13
yeah
shots is still
because
13 shots, but it
they
didn't look that bad versus Utah at least.
reason
But
why
yeah.
is I think I saw 20 shots that missed the net, not blocked
Yeah,
by like
it's still shots that you have to put on net.
you got to
you
put
have
those
to
on net
get those
and
shots on goal for sure. But
be and yeah, and that's
yeah,
it. Just shoot towards the net. And Suzuki had no shots the, on Tuesday night. Like, and neither. I heard that he had like no shots also in the Vegas game, but that doesn't seem to add up.
mm,
So I
I don't
need
know.
to see like what happened. But maybe
Yeah,
he missed the net. But he had some really good chances against Vegas.
yeah, the
He could
chances
have
were there. It
scored.
just
But
in my opinion, like it happened all early on in the game, and once one went in, two went in, then three went in. Like that was really when like
yeah,
I don't know what it was, but they just it looked
no,
like they gave up after 3-0.
it was more of like a game and a half with no shots. He had two shots in the first period against Vegas, probably the two most dangerous shots, and he
Yeah, I
always
agree. They
shows up
started
against
strong.
Vegas. You
They
know that
started well. Yeah, it's the team.
he has a
It's
he's the
there's
chip.
a storyline there for sure.
It's always something that will be there. He's
Yeah,
also a +1 uh on Tuesday against Utah. Like he didn't get any points. He's
yeah,
maybe not getting any points, but he's not doing anything bad necessarily. He
and
just
that's what you need essentially. Like if you're not a bad or a negative player, like on the ice or even on the stat sheet, at least don't be a burden. You know what I mean?
he's never a burden. That's the thing.
No,
And a lot
exactly,
of
exactly.
I've heard
Yeah,
a lot of people talk about him like he's a burden. Like, oh yeah, he can't.
at
But
all,
no,
not at all.
he wins his faceoffs. He does an overall good job. Like maybe he's not the greatest leader, and maybe against Utah it looked like he didn't lead by example because he didn't take shots. Well, he takes
On
a
what
shot almost
grounds?
every
I don't
game.
know. Like he seems like a good leader to me. Like
Yeah, and
it's
he does it.
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy being a Montreal captain. And some people could say, "Oh, like he lacks leadership." But do you not remember Max Pacioretty the day he became captain? How downhill he went.
Yeah, and
Suzuki, have you
there was
seen a
some salt in
downhill slope
there.
with him since he became captain in any way?
There was some salt in there because that was a player vote too. So the players really wanted him to be captain. Now, whether or not that was like, I don't
I don't
know.
know if he ever wanted to be captain though. That's the thing.
I don't know. Yeah, there's that. And then there was the thing that Michel Terrier said. Remember how he said he was the worst Canadiens captain in history?
I mean,
And
he
like it's
kind
salty,
of
but
was.
he was, and he
You
kind of
can't
is.
deny that.
You can't
And
deny that exactly. Looking
he
back at it,
played.
you can't.
He actually became worse as a player during his time as
Yeah,
captain,
exactly. Yeah, it
and
was.
it
Yeah,
literally it was a burden on him.
yeah.
The C was such a burden on him. They should have given it to Gallagher. He was too young though at the time. They thought,
I feel like
and
Gallagher doesn't want it either because I feel like he would have gotten it.
well,
I don't know.
they
I don't
wanted to
know.
give it to Suzuki this time around because they had already felt
It
like
makes sense.
he was a
It makes
leader to the
sense.
young
Yeah.
guys, and like he brought up Caulfield, he brought up
Yeah,
great
I
guys.
don't see the hate at all from Suzuki as like
They
if you think Suzuki is the reason why the Habs are struggling right now because of
no,
leadership, I
no,
got some
and
bad news to tell you.
but there are nights though that like he doesn't always have the greatest endurance, and I think that's what a lot of people point out. Like he is a thick player. He's not skinny, and he's not, and it could sometimes show some nights, and some nights it looks he does struggle some nights, and he's not perfect,
There's
especially this
nights where
season. This
there's
season
the
he's been great.
expression, yeah, there's the expression where players play big, and when he plays big, he plays big. But like you look at like a guy like Anderson, like him, he'll play big, and you know what I mean when he plays big because he's a force. He's you
Yeah,
notice him on the ice.
and
Suzuki has those moments. He has those. Holy crap, he's on the ice. He's doing great so far, and
yeah.
he can really turn it around. But
I,
I
I
feel
also
like
want,
he's there to kind of keep players grounded.
I don't want anyone complaining about Anderson this year. Seriously,
At
like
all. Why?
no
What are you
one
doing if
should
you're complaining
complain
about
about
Anderson?
Anderson this year. He might
No, at all.
be getting paid a lot, but he's not a problem. He's got
The pain,
his confidence is back.
yeah, he's doing great. And like again, the contract, like how else are you gonna get him? There has to be a reason why, like, or not a reason, but there has to be a good with the bad. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect contract for a player.
No,
You know, whether you're gonna pay too much for him, okay, you're getting what you're getting, but you're getting Josh Anderson. You're getting that. You're get like there's a reason why he signed here because of that contract. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Otherwise,
I
we
mean,
wouldn't have had him. And now take that away from the Habs right now. It's the money and the cap goes up every year too. I mean, it's
yeah,
slowed down a bit
it's
obviously because
not
of
going to be
COVID
a
and stuff,
problem.
but
And
it's not going to be a problem
there's
at
only
all.
2 years after this, and technically speaking, Gallagher's contract is worse, but no one on earth would ever bother complaining about him this year
Well,
because
they
he's been
have not this year,
spectacular,
but they have. Yeah.
spectacular. Like he's
Yep.
doing everything right
Yep.
in his own way.
I can't believe
He
he
looks
found
like
another
he's
gear.
this year. He looks like he's 6, 7 years younger. Like he looks like his
And
age.
I feel like that's the younger players playing around them too. Like, okay, fine, he's not playing around the younger guys, but like having them in the locker room, and again, he knows how to find
I
that gear.
think last year not getting injured helped his body.
Recover, yeah, it
Yeah,
could
this
make
summer,
sense.
like he
Yeah,
was able to kind of like deal with it, his body without having to like go through some sort of rehab or anything.
yeah,
Because his
I
body
can
was,
absolutely see that. Yeah,
and if he scores 15, 20 goals, he's gonna probably score about that, probably 20 this year at this point, because
still pretty good.
the net. But I'm okay with Slavkovsky playing
Yeah,
on a line with him. It's gonna get him going, but not with Doc. And that was the problem on Tuesday night. To go back to that,
yeah.
that was the series. Like it just. Why did you even decide that, Marty? Like, what was Marty trying to like prove a punishment? Okay, cool. You can punish them, but you can punish them separately.
So looking at it from a different perspective, just to do that. So Slavkovsky was put on the fourth line. Heineman gets moved up, and
Slavkovsky,
it works. Sorry, Slavkovsky. My bad.
yeah. Caulfield's
Sorry.
fine on the first line.
Yeah,
They
Coffee
didn't
was fine on the
do
first line,
anything, but
but I don't know, like maybe it was just because he hasn't scored since or hasn't, been a productive. Well, I don't want to say productive because like Slakowski, he
He's just
always
not
I
scoring.
find,
He's tied for third in assists. He's got 11
but
assists.
there's other elements to his game.
He's four. Yeah, okay. He's fourth in assists. The only players that have more assists than him are Suzuki, Matheson, and Hudson.
Which makes sense.
If you think
You
about,
can if you watch the Habs games, it makes sense why Matheson and Hudson are getting more than him.
yeah, and Suzuki is Suzuki. He's probably gonna lead
He's
you in
literally the
every.
middle of everything. He's the first line.
Yeah. What do you think of Caulfield kind of rounding out his game lately, like with the assists? Like he's getting assists, but
He
I'm
got a
the
goal
one guy
too.
that I'm like, I don't care. Cool, he has an assist. It doesn't matter. He's not there. He's not paid to get an assist. But he has a
Well,
playmaking game. I'm joking around, obviously, but
okay, I hope you are because I'm like, well, if the puck ends up in the back end of it, that is his job.
yeah, yeah, no, and that's
So
his job.
yeah,
And that's what I noticed when he was playing with Jake Evans. That's what he was doing somehow.
yeah,
Jake Evans got a little hot, and then he cooled down, and it's normal. Now Jake Evans
that's
can push
normal.
down the lineup, which is fair.
Yep.
But yeah, I just do not think that Doc and Slavkovsky should ever play together. Like it doesn't work.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
toxic.
It is,
It's
and it showed.
it looked completely toxic out there.
Yeah,
And I think that's
it
what
looks like
pissed
a
me off
different team.
about the Utah game. Now that I've had time to kind of like take it in the whole Utah game
Yeah,
and take in last night's game, like I'm gonna take a middle ground here and say Slavkovsky, he needed a game like last night, but the toxicity of the choosing Doc over Slavkovsky too in like 3-on-3, a
could
lot
it
of
be
people were
maybe
upset
like?
about that. And
Could it be maybe like, okay, this is your final chance to do something
to who? Slavkovsky?
before? No, for Doc.
Oh, Doc. He's on the verge of getting
You know what I mean?
healthy
Like maybe
scratch,
this is
possibly.
something. That's what I'm saying. And like trade deadline is coming in the new year.
We're not gonna trade him this year. He's gonna. I don't. Okay,
I
it
don't
depends on
know.
the package. Maybe for Jiricek. If we let's talk about the whole
Well,
Jiricek
that's been
thing.
talked about.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But what would you actually offer for a Jiricek deal? Like, what would you want to offer? I'll tell you what
Okay,
I want to
so he's on
offer.
Columbus. Do you think they want Liney back?
I'm not
uh,
giving up Line,
I know.
but
Obviously, I'm not giving up Liney
but
either.
I'm giving up a guy that probably still has a lot of value still, like a lot.
Are you thinking of a defenseman?
Yes, young too.
Kaden Gooley,
No, I'm
Struble.
thinking of David Reinbacher. It's the same defenseman. They're the
Oh,
same defenseman,
okay,
basically.
but do you give Reinbacher a chance here though? Because if they're the same, we already
Yeah,
have
but
him.
it
Why do the
depends on
trade?
the whole knee thing. His knees. I'm worried about
Okay,
his
so
knee
then why is Zurich? Oh, I mean they're benching him now, but or they sent him down to the AHL finally.
because
But
they're
what's
not
the motive
ready.
for
He's not
what's the
ready
motive for
either.
Columbus?
It's not. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's kind of scary to do that, but I would almost think about it because Reinbacher's not going to be ready for 2 years now. He was already 2 years away from being ready
I don't know. I feel
going
like
into the season.
Juracek. So if we're going from this perspective, I feel like Juracek could be ready this season, or at
He's
least at the very
on the
least,
verge.
a
But
two-way player where he
a
plays
lot
in the
of
AHL, he plays in the NHL. So what's the motive for Columbus then? Like if
the,
unless you throw in like a first rounder or something, but like that'd be ridiculous because you're also in a rebuild.
the pedigree of a younger defenseman, like similar
I
defenseman,
guess.
younger. Maybe you can play with that, but it's the injuries. It's a thing where you can't really be certain, and it would be something that maybe you could look at on both sides. It's very similar defenseman, defensive first defenseman who can
I
bring
want
up
to
the
know why
puck.
Columbus is even benching him in the first place. Like
No, it doesn't make sense. He's 20 years old. What are you doing? The reality makes no
that's where
sense. You're
my
gonna lose a
questioning
trade
is.
because the reality is I said I'd trade Reinbacher. You think the Habs would ever actually do that? Let's be honest. There's no way it's happening.
Well, they passed on Mitchkov, so no.
No, no, obviously. And I'm sure they still believe in him in some way
Oh,
shape, or
absolutely. I
form,
mean, they do.
despite the knee injuries. But I know that he's now a whole 2 years behind in development because that last year in the in the Swiss league, it was such a mess with his team that it
Yeah.
kind of, and he had to be, and this year he has to be out 5 to 6 months. He won't be back until March at the
I
earliest.
don't know. I feel like I
This
don't want to
hurt,
say
like,
I really don't want to say wasted draft pick because it's unfair to the guy to kind of put that on him now. It was
it,
a very questionable pick from the beginning.
yeah, but it was the said best defenseman. If but you
In an
maybe should have gone
offensively or
forward.
an
And
offensively touted draft.
I would have went with Ryan Leonard. He has like a nose for the net. He's kind of like this gritty, like 6 foot forward, and like
I don't know.
he
Maybe they
goes
wanted
for
to bolster
ghosts.
their D line because that's the only logic that I saw when they picked Reinbacher.
Is
That's the only thing, right? You
he
you you
is
traded
he
away
right-handed?
Romanov,
If he
so
was left-handed, they don't take him.
oh yeah, I
Right?
agree. I agree. I think the whole right-handed thing was a big factor. But I don't know, maybe it's because they were caught on like, okay, we gave up Romanov, who was supposed to be one of our guys in the defensive lineup. We have to replace our guys coming up, so maybe this is why. Like, you have the you have the number 5 overall pick. You have a chance to draft the highest skilled defensive player of the draft.
I
Why
don't
not
think it
do it?
was.
And they pulled the trigger.
It's not their fault. It's not anyone's prediction that he was gonna like bust his knee this year, or that
Okay,
Switzerland was gonna be a mess
okay,
last
but wait a
year.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So when you draft a player or when you look into playing players for your team, you have to automatically think that at some point in their career, they're going to get injured.
Yeah, but you won't expect it to happen in one of his most important development years necessarily. But it
Life happens.
also,
The hockey
I don't
gods
think
said, okay, Montreal, you have
what happened
24 cups. Here's an injured prospect.
what happened in HC Zurich, I think is the name of the team.
Yeah, it could be.
SC Zurich. Um, no one could have expected that team, or no, was it Clotan? Why am I saying, yeah, it was Clotan. Uh,
I know he played in the Swiss league. That's about all I know
yeah,
about
no,
him.
it was in
And
Clotan,
he's 6'4", I
but
think. But
no
yeah,
one
I
was
said I think.
expecting it to go as bad as it did for David Reinbacher's team. Like they were so bad, they had 3 different coaches in a year. Like
Yeah.
what the heck is that?
And that also maybe has to screw with his development.
Well, that's it. Like there
Yeah.
was nothing you could do. So that's why I'm like, you know, the media asked him when he got here, "Do you regret staying in Switzerland?" And his answer was not no. It was, "Well, it's in the past now. There's nothing we can do about it." That's what he said to the Montreal media when he came to Laval. He actually looked good in the first
He
11
did.
games,
He
and
he.
there was some promise.
I'm okay with it if it's developing in Laval. And then you come up in the lineup properly. You're
But
not rushing the freaking guy.
I think he has deep down may have regrets of deciding to stay in Switzerland, and maybe the Habs do too, instead of having him play in Laval last year, because he'd be a whole year
Well, he's
ahead.
also a young kid. Asking him to move to a different continent is a lot to
It would
ask.
have been hard,
So
yeah.
I
I
kind of
guess
see I
so.
kind of see why he wanted to stay, but it comes with the risk. It's high risk, high reward.
Yeah, but
So
the situation he was in last year, that's like a 1 in 100 chance that like a team could go that bad where they have to have 3 coaches, nothing is working. He actually did more in 11 games in Laval his whole year than 35
yeah,
with Clotan last year. I'm seeing the stats up here right now,
yeah.
and yeah, it's pretty
I don't know.
crazy.
So what's a trade market value for Roman? Not for Reinbacher.
Reinbacher. We're not actually trading Reinbacher, but I would look at it as a guy similar to Jiricek or like a top pick, like a guy that was
I mean, I'd rather
picked.
have Jiricek, just be
No,
honest with
but
you.
like
But
a guy that was picked maybe in the same range as a Reinbacher, Jiricek. Like honestly, even like Yakimchuk could be probably in the similar like
I kind of
trade
agree with
value
that.
wise, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But I'm not saying go trade for
No, no,
Carter
no. I'm not.
Yakimchuk.
That's why I'm
But
just
like
saying. Like, what's
if
the
we're gonna
market
look at it
value?
that way, and the Habs won't. But on a Jiricek, I genuinely think a Reinbacher would be a similar thing that they'd like to add. But it sounds like they want a pick, a prospect, and maybe a roster player. So if we look at it that way, do we push back a little lower and maybe go with Logan? I've heard people say Logan Mailloux, Florida's
They're
first,
easier to move off
because
of
with
him
Florida,
because he wasn't Kent Hughes' pick. That's why I feel like his name is getting floated around because it wasn't his pick.
Logan
It's
Mailloux,
not on
yeah,
him, and yeah,
yeah,
look at you.
yeah. Well,
So that's
Logan,
why they're
yeah,
they're more than willing to get rid of not their guys.
yeah.
Like
they would
Reinbacher
rather
was his guy. He picked him, so obviously he's gonna latch onto that.
yeah, he's gonna have more faith in Reinbacher than
Yeah, it's
Mayu
his
anyway.
pick. Exactly.
Plus, Mayu just got sent down. You know why he was sent down, eh? Because
I
his
don't.
defensive play. He cannot defend properly yet.
Yeah, but he's also
He's the
young.
complete opposite of what you would have in a Reinbacher or Gully type. Like those guys, like Reinbachers and Gullies, they have the
Oh,
defensive
his
task done.
his skill
He just
set
needs to,
isn't needed as much anymore just because of Matheson and Hudson.
yeah,
That's why. Like his spot is
and
taken.
but then you have he would be up in the NHL probably if Barron did not require waivers. They
Yeah,
don't waivers makes a huge difference in some situations like that. Like he's not that much better than Barron, but he is
yeah,
better than
he
Barron.
is.
Let's be honest. Maybe you look at the
And
defensive
that's
play and
why
you're
they're
like, oh,
alternating the spots between them because we said it. We heard about it when I believe when St. Louis was saying he's giving each of these guys a fair chance every few games. He's shuffling them around each few games or each handful of games.
yeah,
So yeah, the defense is very not big question mark, but it's definitely not it's not set
yeah. The
apart from
defense
Hudson and Matheson.
definitely you got to look at a lot of players.
Yeah, you do.
You're not gonna be you can't be certain with like a Barron or even a Struble.
Oh
Like
yeah, I mean he had a few good moments in a few games recently. He had a
yeah,
lot of bad ones too
Struble, but
because like
like
he did
you
get
don't know
beat.
where he's gonna fit in the future.
No, you don't. Is that a question mark?
I mean, not really, because it'll be a bottom pairing defenseman. At the end of the day,
At the end of the day,
Gooley
exactly.
and Hudson
It's
have the top two left-handed side
yeah,
done.
yeah,
So Struble, you can get a Struble, you can put a Jack Eye. Who's gonna be the sixth and who's gonna be the seventh defenseman? Let's look at it
right.
that way.
Yeah.
Right now, we need to plug our right-handed defenseman. So ideally a Reinbacher, most likely Mayu.
I feel because he's young, like the injury, yes, it's big, but because he's young, his like it's and he is an athlete, he's a pro athlete. I feel like it'll be okay. But if it's a situation where it's like Gooley or where it's like Doc, where it's just repetitive injuries after repetitive injuries,
It's
then you kind of have to start looking into the future. Where okay,
that
how long is he? How long does his
along
career going to be?
this teenage thing where like the bone kind of like moved weird. Osgood Schlager, like his bones kind of
Yeah,
grew like overgrew or something, and
yeah,
it's an issue when you're like a teenager. But I'm wondering if that also has an impact on you maybe as a young adult, because he had a minor knee injury last year. He
he
only missed
did.
like 2 3 weeks with it. I don't
Yeah,
know if you remember, but he had
I
like a
do.
very minor knee injury. It wasn't anything too serious.
No, it was just it was like a day to day kind of injury or something like
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
like that's what I was kind of expecting with this injury too, because I looked at the two injuries between this one and the Line thing happening in the same game. Liney's looked 20 times worse.
Yeah, because that was a like a opposite, like it was like two trains coming right at each other with the
Yeah,
knee anyway.
exactly. And
Whereas
that's
Reinbacher was a battle on the boards and it was just an awkward footing and one thing led to another.
it's almost as weird as Doc's injury last year. It's like the
Yeah,
weirdest injuries are the ones that take longer to
yeah,
heal. And I'm happy to see. Oh, speaking of Liney, he's on his way back
yeah.
soon.
Like I said,
He'll
you know,
probably be
he's
back next
he's
year.
gonna be a good Christmas gift, that's for sure. And
Yeah, an early Christmas
I'm
gift.
really hoping that the team really because you saw even in preseason before the whole Toronto thing happened there, like we were really excited. And okay, fine, hockey's back, but like we also like, in my opinion, we felt like we could do some damage, and it's not over. Like the season's still
The
going on, and
season's
yes,
not over.
we're
There's
not that far off. I mean,
we're officially a quarter into the season.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're a quarter in. Yeah.
Right now, 22 games in.
Now, I'm not saying we're going to go on a heater, but it's been known that teams go on a heater.
Yeah, but like the Habs aren't the team that's going to go on a heater. The Habs are right now
They could.
11-3. It's not a bad record.
Like, I want to know the December schedule. Like, who's our opponents and stuff. Let's
Yeah,
take a look
yeah.
here.
Well, we start the month technically the first day of the month. We're playing Boston.
Boston, in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, in Boston on December 1st, and yeah,
That'll be a good one. Hopefully, it's not like a bad outcome like it was.
yeah, we're playing Boston. Yeah, so Saturday, like it's 2 weekend games this weekend.
Like, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 7 games in the first 14 days of December.
Okay, so
If we hit half those games with wins, I feel like we'll be okay. Keep
yeah,
in mind that one of the teams is Anaheim. Okay, so you have Winnipeg, but okay, 2 out of the 7 are Pittsburgh and Anaheim.
yeah,
If those are absolutely must
winnable.
wins,
They're
Those
very
are
winnable.
absolutely must wins. And
You
then Ovi's
have
out
to.
versus Washington, so you can argue Washington might be a bit of an easier. Well, it is an easier challenge without
It's an
Ovi.
easier challenge than Nashville too this year. Nashville's a mess with their whole
Yeah,
swingers
but
line.
Stamkos and they tend to turn it on versus us.
Yeah,
But you're
yeah.
right.
Maybe
You're right.
it's just a slow
If I'm
start,
going
and
purely statistical, then absolutely. Yeah, look, I think that if we get four, sorry, if we get, I said seven. Yeah, if we get 4 wins, even three,
in the first
decent start to December.
yeah,
And
and
keep in mind that those are a lot of home
anything could
games.
happen. Like,
Yeah,
but the Habs aren't gonna be fighting for a playoff spot this year. I don't think it's
it
officially. You look at it and you realize the stuff that they're missing. They're actually missing a second line center. Doc
they
has
are.
proven to me, as exciting as line A being, there's still that one slot missing. You need that second line center. Well, guess what?
I
You
said it
finish
before.
bottom
Yeah.
five, you're guaranteed. You're most likely guaranteed one of Misa, Haggins,
So my
Porter
question is
Martone's not a center, but the other one is Roger McQueen. He's pretty good.
yeah,
He's a
no,
little
I've heard
lower
of him.
than Misa and Haggins, obviously, but
Yeah,
I love Michael Misa. The guy's gonna be amazing. He's left-handed too. We need left-handed guys
yeah,
that up the center. I'm really hoping that they get Michael Misa. I'll be praising him all year, I think.
for sure. And I mean
But
Demidov too. With
I think he
Demidov
only
already with
like
that lineup.
23 goals, 23 games, unless they played a game recently. But he's on fire,
It's
and
good.
he'd be my first pick, honestly.
Right.
A lot of people are saying Matthew Schaefer is also is going above Haggins.
Yeah.
Haggins is not necessarily the number one pick anymore.
Yeah, and it's known to happen where this time of year where changes happen for the number one overall pick, if anything. But
Yeah, I mean, you just you look at this guy. He even already has a Habs picture to go with here. But
perfect.
anyways, did you see the shared
Yeah.
screen, or
Let me see.
that
No.
I was sharing a screen, but I guess it didn't share properly.
I'm
But
not seeing.
anyways,
Oh, there we go. Now I see it. Perfect.
okay, so you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. See, like, look how good this guy is.
Yeah.
This is the guy that you really want. And how is Saginaw doing right now? He's obviously number one in points on his team. Oh yeah, this guy carries his team.
Yeah, there's a 10-point gap there for the points.
Yeah,
Yep.
14 points.
There you go. Yeah.
He's the guy that you'd want coming up at center.
For
I
sure.
don't know if Doc can be a proper center at the NHL level. He can't win faceoffs. He
And
is
can you
also
argue?
early with that injury, because that injury, missing a full year, he tearing your ACL and MCL is horrid. It's
Yeah. And I don't know, like maybe
what
like
is Reinbacher's diagnosis again? To
so that's
see,
exactly what I was going to compare it to. Like, are we turning Reinbacher into like a Doc situation? Now we still got a great return for Kirby Doc. Like,
the left. Okay, he just went. All he said was that he had surgery on his left knee, but that's it. That's all
yeah,
it says. Like, they don't explain more when I read it.
they're
That's the
very
thing.
niche when it comes to like hiding. They're not hiding injuries, but it's just it is still like
But
personal health and all that.
they
So
were very transparent when Doc got hurt. Torn ACL, MCL. They basically just said it's the worst possible thing that could happen to a
I
knee.
think that's harder to hide. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think he was out 8 to 12 months. I think that's what it was.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so he's still recovering, and I do think he plays a little bit scared, but he does have those moments like he did against Utah. That one moment where he did like a nice deke there.
yeah.
That,
That was a nice play. It
yeah, he
really
didn't
was.
score, but if he can
You
do
do the
that
right things.
more often, it might be
Yeah,
good in getting him back. But nonetheless, I don't know if he's a center. No one has
it's a
any
big
proof.
question
He
mark.
says he's more comfortable at center, but does his play has his play ever really showed us that? His
No.
best play was with who? Caulfield and Suzuki before the injury really
Yeah,
hit him, right? He
yeah.
was on the wing then. And speaking of centers, I know this sounds crazy, but I was talking to a guy on Twitter last night. I don't know if you saw the whole thread. Like, the guy convinced me that Suzuki could actually be better as a right wing because he doesn't command the middle of the ice, and it's true. Suzuki plays along the boards a lot more when he's controlling the puck. A proper like first line center would go up the ice, kind of like a la Jack Eichel, uh, Michael Hage kind of way. I don't know. It does
I
sound
I see I
crazy.
see that. Yeah, I
It
see that's
would
a
be
fair point.
possible though if we do have the proper centers to allow him to play more on the right wing, but it doesn't mean that Suzuki
It's a good thought.
bad player at all. This is what the
No,
guy was trying to explain to me, and a lot
it's
of
about
people
utilizing.
apparently
It's
argue
about
with this
utilizing
guy.
him exactly.
He's Canadiens talk on
Mm,
Twitter. A lot of
nice.
people argue like saying he hates Suzuki, but after talking to him, we got to the point where like he said he wanted to trade him, and I said like no, he's like the top player on the team right now. You don't trade that guy. He's your leader.
Nah,
He's gonna
Suzuki, Caulfield are your core, and it's going to
yeah,
be
and
nearly impossible to
Slavkovsky
move.
too. That's why it's a
And
top
Slavkovsky is up there too. Yeah,
yeah. And then you're on defense, you got Gooley and Hudson. They're the only two that are safe.
pretty much.
I
Yep.
think you have five players on the current roster plus Demidov, who's 100% safe, who are definitely
I
part of the.
can't. I really can't wait.
That's a player that I can't wait for. But he only played 8 minutes again. They hate him in Russia. But like
Yeah.
everyone knew this was going to be the case. This was something that was expected.
Yeah.
He's
Anyway,
playing
so we
for
should uh we should
CSK.
cut it
Yeah. So
short
we
now
should take
because of
this
the
break
time.
now. We're just
Yeah.
going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
All right.
All right. So welcome back, guys, to the Canadians Cafe podcast. We just finished our little break here, and let's get back into it. So, we were just talking about like Doc's ability as a center.
And you said even we were even saying how Suzuki can even play on the wing a bit too.
Right. Yeah.
How he can also go for that, and yeah,
Yeah. Honestly, if like something like that happens and we need to get a we need to improve at center, and he's better off on the wing, then like let's go with that. Why not? Right?
yeah, for sure.
It's a possibility, and that's what the guy and I were talking about, and he ended up like just saying like maybe Suzuki would be better on the wing, and it's very possible
Yeah,
because the guy he's got a great shot. He can also play very well from the right
yeah,
circle as we've seen on the power play. But
yeah.
that actually reminds me of something. What I saw against Utah, this is another thing that like really irked me, is why is Doc playing like kind of like the point area? Like, why is Suzuki not back there
Could
more?
it
Where he
be?
used to release that shot last year, and that was a huge chunk of his 33 goals that he scored
Could it
last year
be
were from that.
maybe like he trusts his like I don't know like maybe his wrister or his kind
Sure.
of like maybe because normally when they play on the point it's because they want to get the long shot in from the point and they want to get the
Yeah,
rebound or they
but
want to shoot for the rebound.
Doc's not
That's normally
shooting
what it is.
anything.
No.
Doc hesitates and like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Suzuki, on the other hand, has been a guy that has done a great job from the point and has always managed to like
Yeah.
rip one with his wrister. So
Yeah.
that's where I think Suzuki fits best on the power play. Just because he's likely taking the face off doesn't mean he and Doc can't immediately switch once they get control. Because who's likely going to be
Right.
the first guy to touch the puck after? It's going to be Hudson, right? Or
Yeah.
Matheson, depending on the night.
Yeah.
I'm saying Hudson because we were talking about Utah, but
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Matheson
very good
would
point. Matheson
normally.
would yeah, he would normally be the guy.
But the point is, and also we already know how I would actually run it. Like I said last week, we would go Matheson and Hudson back there.
Matheson, Anderson. Yeah.
That could be one way. And still, you could have Suzuki on the right along the right wall,
Yep.
and then have Slavkovsky in front of the net, or
Yeah.
someone needs to be the bumper. And honestly, as much as Doc isn't shooting much, I think he's better in the bumper than Suzuki. They tried to put him
I agree.
in the bumper. Suzuki doesn't have the body for it. He's too small. Where, but for some reason, Gallagher he seems to be so good there, but it's because he's got that feistiness. No one
It's
has the
that,
feistiness
and
of
he's been
Gallagher.
doing this for over 10 years.
Yeah,
That's
that,
all he's
that
ever done.
that's all he'll ever know.
Yeah, maybe that's why he won't have. Well, I mean, he has a long NHL. He's the longest tenured had right now on the team, but you hope that lasts longer. But
He's
he's
got
still fighting for that role. Yeah,
yeah, and maybe Gallagher could also take Doc's spot. I just think that right now, Doc just doesn't have his spot on the first power play, and
no,
it showed even more this week.
yeah,
It didn't really last night. The only thing that really happened on the power play, you can only think of one thing: pass off the boards from Slavkovsky to Caulfield on a breakaway, scores his 13th of the season
he does,
in
and the
front
power
of
play is improving.
Columbus, in
Yeah,
front of Columbus,
yeah,
and in front, of course, in front of the retired jersey of Johnny Gaudreau, his idol.
in honor,
How amazing is that? The hockey gods are definitely real.
they are. They
You
absolutely
cannot
are.
say otherwise. That was beautiful though,
It
and
was.
he hadn't scored in what 4 or 5 games to that point.
Oh yeah, it was that entire. I think the last goal was it? No, it wasn't October, was it?
No, was it Buffalo? No, he may have not scored since against Buffalo,
Right.
honestly, or what? Or did he score against Columbus? He may have scored against Columbus the last time.
Uh, when they
But
played here.
let me check here. Let me check
Yeah.
on
Yep.
Caulfield's last 5 games on his game log. So his last goal prior to last night was, yeah, it was against Buffalo, that 2 goal game. He's only scored 3 goals this month after being the hottest
Yeah, and
player
we talked
in
about that. We said,
October.
yeah, we said that he wasn't going to slow down, and he has. But
But yeah,
I
no,
mean, I
like
wish he could continue at the pace he has been, but that's unrealistic.
yeah, it's not
So,
realistic. But yeah, you went 5 games without a goal.
and maybe Line kind of kick jumps him again, so that'll be something.
Yeah, well,
But
him and Line are gonna have a rivalry of who can score more goals when they're
hopefully,
both healthy.
hopefully,
That'll be the new thing.
that's the
Well,
plan.
we'll see how
Hopefully,
Line does. But thing about Line, I don't think the knee injury will hold him back the way it held Doc back. Is because Line relies on his shot. It's his shot. We're not gonna be looking at him for his speed, are we?
I really think that he's gonna like let go of the puck a lot quicker than normal the first few games, just because he doesn't want to be vulnerable for those hits.
Yeah, and
But after
that was
that, I
happening
find
with
he's gonna
Doc
like.
too early on.
I find game by game he's gonna realize, okay, like I know what I'm doing now again. That this is okay. Like
Yeah, that's how
I
they
feel
all
like
do.
I feel like what happened only happens like once every so
Yeah,
often in a year.
I
It's
expect.
not. It's knee on knees don't happen as often as you think. Not the way that happens like it did with him.
Yeah, that won't happen most of the time. Plus, that wasn't even an NHLer. It was some guy who was on an AHL deal. He was never going to play in the NHL anyways.
So
He was just trying to get
I still feel
noticed.
like it was accidental.
Yes,
Again,
but
I feel like he was just trying to get a piece of him because he knew he was going to
yeah,
get beat.
but the knee on knee's accidental, yes. But the hit, he was going to lay him out. He wanted to lay him out.
He was trying to get he knew he was going to get beat. He absolutely knew he was going to get beat. That's why the whole knee on knee thing happened, because he knew that he was going to fly right by him, and he knew that if he got a piece of him, he wouldn't be able to hold on to the puck. That's what I think, in my opinion. That's the way it
Yeah,
looked in my
no,
eyes.
that's it. Like he was going to get beat. He was going to get Line was going to fly by him, and the only way he got a hold of him was knee on
Was to
knee.
just nick him. Yeah,
It
exactly.
happens, and
It
it's one
does.
of the like dirtiest looking things. But I think a lot of knee on knees are actually accidental. What isn't
It was
accidental is when
because
you hit a guy up straight to the head. If
yeah,
you hit
like we
a
talked about earlier, for sure.
that
And
that's a different thing.
the head thing is a different thing. Exactly. That's
But
absolutely a different thing.
if you look at Pare did not mean to do that.
No, and honestly, like yeah,
He wanted to level him to like
he
hit him
did,
hard
and who doesn't? If I'm an
to
opponent, I
show
do.
what he can do
Yeah, like
for
hey, he
maybe the
didn't beat me,
Marlies
Yeah, exactly.
because at this
But
point he's
what I like that Pape did is, if, to those of you who don't know, is that he did talk to Line after. He did say that he wasn't malicious in the sense that he wanted to like injure him. He just said that I wanted to just like it was a play that happened, and I'm sorry. I hope you're okay. We checked up on him after. He apologized,
yeah.
which not every player does. So you give credit to that. And he knew what he did was wrong. And at the end of the day, he knew that it was an accident that happened, and it was caused by him, and
Yeah.
he owned up to it. So on my book, am I pissed off that it happened? Yeah, but I'm not pissed off at him in the sense anymore.
I th- yeah. Like I think me too. At the time, I may have been pissed
At the
off
time,
at
I was
him.
pissed off at him because I thought he was just doing the whole interview
No,
thing,
the
even
reason
the
why I
post
was
game.
pissed off though is because it's an AHL guy who maybe shouldn't have been in a
Who
game
took
like
out one of the
that, or
top talents, or who could be one of the top talents in
yeah.
the NHL? I agree with that. That's
And
complete
I think
bullshit,
that's
and
what
it's
pissed me off. But
unfair. And I agree.
when you really take the time to like digest it, just like I mentioned earlier with the Utah game, uh, you kind of see like it was an
There's two
accidental
sides.
thing, but like you can't be pissed at him. But the whole situation just kind of feels like, oh my God, again, we're gonna have one of these seasons again. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
and that's horrible to have.
yeah,
Exactly. There's that, and like even the post game interview where he was like shrugging it off or whatever. But like again, as long as and Line even admitted to this, he said, he reached out to me, he apologized, all that. So at the end of the day, if Line could forgive the freaking guy,
yeah.
I can do it too.
Yeah, and Liney's gonna be he's gone to New York and Boston with the Habs, so you never know. He could show
Yeah,
up.
the whole Columbus thing was like I know why, because like he was on the team, so that is like sentimental to him there. Like just to go with the team there.
Yeah,
Maybe see some old
yeah, but
friends, stuff like
I
that.
I wonder if they did some sort of like, you know, like they maybe honored him. I don't know. I don't think so.
Could be, maybe, well, maybe he just wanted to see his team. Like
Yeah,
Columbus.
his
Maybe
old
Columbus will
team,
welcome
yeah,
him
for
there.
sure. He wants to see them, but
Yeah,
like he's going with them on the trip because there is a chance he could be playing in Boston. Not
yeah,
most likely not New York. Because apparently when they asked St. Louis, like, is there any chance that Line A plays this week? You want to know how he answered? He's like, well, does Sunday count as this week? Because if so, then
yeah.
maybe, but
Right.
he
I'm
does,
just
he's
looking
not
at the
going to be
Habs
playing
schedule here.
Saturday.
No, I don't think so. That would be.
What do you think of Pizzetta sitting out all these games? Poor guy can't get a single game, and but it's the role he has.
It's a role he has, and it
It
Pazetta is not a unless you're like on a really bad losing streak and you need to change something. It's not like a do or die move. So yeah,
the
I mean,
Canadians
and Jack
did
Eye's in
losing
the
streak
lineup.
instead. But
Yeah,
actually,
and I
that
mean the
reminds
losing
me,
the losing streak that it was. I mean, like
it
it was
was
a
what,
losing
five,
streak,
six
but
games? It was 6 games, was it
like I
not?
mentioned, we got overtime points. If anything, Vegas was always going to be a crapshoot. Like the Ranger game this Saturday, like the last time they played, was that not the 7-2 loss?
Yes, yes, that was the horrible
Yeah, so
7-2 loss.
maybe Pizzetta's in that lineup, in the lineup for that game.
Yeah, well,
Maybe I
he
don't
might
know.
be because if they have to face Rempe, like,
And Truba, you know,
well, yeah, you gotta be careful with Truba. And now that
right?
they got to
So
deal
maybe
with
Line doesn't play for the Saturday game for sure for that reason alone.
no for that reason alone, he might be ready and he might be ready,
But
but it
Boston,
might,
Boston's the back to back, second half of a back to back, three
why
o'clock
not
game.
give yeah like maybe if
Put
you want
that's
to give him a
if
shot,
that's is
maybe
that not a perfect Line
and
A example or Line A test?
yeah, and it's not
I
like
think it would be.
Boston's like the most aggressive team anymore either. They're not
They're
like
not going to try and kill the Habs.
no, they
We're
don't.
not like up there with them.
We're no, and well, they're not even up there very much either anymore.
No, but they're like four. We're 7-8.
Yeah, yeah, they're not gonna like, but they're not gonna attack Line A. Plus, I maybe you play Line A on like a fourth line for his first game back, just to get him some reps. Like he doesn't have to play a lot. It might, it might just be an. You could do that.
You could, you
There's
could,
nothing wrong with that.
and if
It,
he
it
feels
might look weird
uncomfortable,
on the
and
lineup,
yeah, and if
but
he feels uncomfortable, he's only playing maybe 5 minutes if anything, or 10 minutes if anything. So
yeah,
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 no, that makes
10 minutes.
sense.
That's honestly not a bad idea. Now that I'm thinking
So
about it, like you send him out as a fourth liner for a game just to get his reps in. If Doc got like came back like the last week of the season last year, you don't think that could have been a good idea for Doc? There was no way
I
Doc would come
absolutely
back, but
do.
I'm just giving an
No,
example.
but in that context,
Or
I absolutely think that's a good idea.
it's a good way to get them reps to see where they're exactly at.
Yeah,
It's almost like getting like a conditioning stint in the AHL, except you're a bona fide NHLer, so why not do a fourth line? Or you could do AHL conditioning, but he's not going to do that. They're not going to do that with him.
I
Just
was
like
thinking about that too, but like Line is beyond that.
he's beyond
Hey,
that.
Line, you
But
gotta.
you could never forget that one time Gallagher and Price played one game in
Oh, even Coffee
2021.
played in the AHL.
They played one game, one conditioning game just before the playoffs.
I remember that.
They
That
had
was
missed
fun.
like 3 weeks
And they
each.
lost like, didn't they lose like 3-0
Yes,
against Rochester, I believe?
it was not ignite. It was not a great game for either of them.
Yeah.
And you're like, these guys are bona fide NHLers. But do you know that like Gallagher, he didn't do as well in the AHL and like in general as he did the same season, his rookie season in the NHL. It
The
was just
AHL is a lot more, it's more his play style, I find. So maybe that's why he had more trouble with it. Because maybe it's like, you have to deal with that all the time.
yeah, well, the AHL is a lot of battles and stuff. And no, his play
In
he
my
plays
opinion, it's
better
more
in the
authentic
NHL.
hockey, but
But there are some guys that will do better in the NHL with more
yeah.
skilled talent, and he's one of them.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? Yeah, isn't it? Exactly. Like the AHL is meant to make that like the AHL is guys are fighting for the top, and the NHL is guys are fighting to stay on the top, so they don't get to
Yeah.
the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's it. They're fighting for roster spots, and Gallagher was doing that during his time there,
yeah.
during the lockout. But I don't know if he would have ever even saw the AHL if there was no lockout that year, because he came into camp ready to go.
Ready to go, and he fit
At
right in.
19, he almost made the team. His
Yeah,
final year at junior, he was.
yeah.
Remember that? Do you
I
remember?
do.
Like,
I do.
what kind of fifth rounder has a chance to make the team the year after he's drafted? Like,
It's a
doesn't
steal.
happen.
Doesn't
It's
happen.
the
Well,
type of
it
guy
happens,
he is.
but it doesn't really happen a lot. And
No, it doesn't happen a lot. That's the truth. Like there's guys that could do it. I think Mark
yeah,
Stone was
like if you
almost
look
up
back
there.
at the last 10 years of the
But
draft, you can maybe pick like maybe five, maybe 10 guys,
yeah,
maybe, but like
it's
that's
because
the
they're
last five,
smaller
ten
too, and
years.
like the league kind of went away from like for sure like the small guys were a huge problem drafting because they were able to kind of adapt more to a faster NHL guys like Gallagher as opposed to guys back maybe in the 90s like a Corey Locke didn't get much of a shot.
Well, the rules were also different. Like hockey was way different 10 years
Yeah,
ago
like
to now,
you could do
and
like the
then
clutch and grab. You could
like there
maybe
were the
the Scott
lines were more
Stevens
set
hit.
in the sense of what you were.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. And
Now they're more like okay, we can switch them on the fly. Which 10 years ago that didn't happen. Like your line was your line.
yeah, and you'd pretty much stay with that line.
Yeah, and you pretty much stay with that line to get chemistry, and to kind of work together
Now,
to
yeah,
win the
it's a
games.
little all over the place.
Now it's a little all over the place.
Yeah,
I find, but maybe that's just Montreal, but that's just
no,
what I'm
it's a
seeing.
little all over the place. And somehow Slavkovsky was only putting up points when Caulfield or Suzuki at least was on the ice with him. But
I
that's what
mean,
he always does.
if you put me on a line with Slokowski and Suzuki, I mean,
You might get a point or two.
I might get a point, and that's me.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's if Slavkovsky has confidence, because Slavkovsky has to be the one to drive up the middle, because someone has to drive up the middle.
I don't.
I
The
mean,
confidence thing
Suzuki does
is
a
a good
good
question.
job on the power play because, he's got the hands, he's got everything. He just
Maybe
doesn't have the,
Slokowski is the one that overthinks it. Maybe.
yeah, but yeah, Slavkovsky overthinks things. He's young, though. That's why.
Yeah.
He can't overthink it. Just shoot. Did you see? He finally shot right
Not
away.
only that, but he plays big. That's the kind of he knows how
He
to do it.
plays huge.
He plays
The
huge and
guy hits everything. I think he's still leading the
and
Habs
it,
in
and he
hits,
has
or
that
the
kind of
Habs
swagger
scores
when he
everything.
plays. I guess it's just harder when the team's losing.
Yeah,
I mean, I
and
would imagine so. But
he still had 4 hits the other night,
yeah,
against Utah. He didn't
that's
play
all
a
it
great
takes.
game, but he had 4 hits.
Look at Josh Anderson. When he can't get the puck in the net, what does he do? He plays big. He goes for the hits. He gets momentum on our side, and that's what you need.
Right. Yeah, you need
That's
the
why I love him.
guys.
Like you need those kind of guys to turn the momentum, to set the tone.
Exactly.
And set the tone can mean a million things. For Jack, it can mean punching a guy in the face. For Caulfield, it can mean sniping a one timer. Sikorsky, it can
Exactly.
mean breaking through and bringing it into the slot.
Yes, Slavkovsky, it is like going to, yeah, break through. Doc, it's the same thing. Doc and him play a similar game. And I
Yeah,
think that was one of the issues of the toxicity that I mentioned earlier.
maybe. Yeah,
I think in some way he looks at Doc's game and he's like, I got to mirror that a little bit. A skilled,
I
powerful,
guess.
but the problem in his mind, I know you looked up to Doc last year. He was
Yeah,
so he was heartbroken to see Doc get hurt. There wasn't a player on the team more
yeah.
heartbroken other
I
than
saw
Doc,
that too. You saw
obviously,
that too.
than
Yeah,
Slavkovsky. So now getting to play with him this year, he gets all excited about it.
Yeah,
probably, but he then maybe sees that Doc is not Doc. He's not the
yeah,
same guy. He's not the guy that he was before the knee injury. And it is what it is. And it's going to take maybe 40 games, a lot of people are saying, with an injury that bad to the knee. Plus,
yeah,
you're probably scared as all hell. Like, I know you mentioned Line will probably like let go of the puck quicker. Well, yes, but for Doc, you got to imagine it's even worse. And
yeah. I do.
he will probably still have problems before Line is completely comfortable. Just
Yeah,
like yeah, I don't even know if he'll be good until January. I think that's when you got to kind of assess Doc more, maybe the beginning of January. If
yeah.
by the beginning of January it's still not going well, you may have to move on.
You have a decision to make
You have a
exactly
serious decision to make. You may not be able to
because you
deal.
have to look at what's coming up and you have to look at where you're at now and
Yeah,
where you
because
want to be next.
you can't wait for
You
him
can't.
forever.
No, you can't.
You got to, and that's why I'm saying, be prepared for a new center this in this draft.
Oh yeah,
People are
I'm ready
even
for
saying
it.
Michael Hage could be the guy. Like a lot of people are
Could
high on
could
Michael
be
Hage. He
absolutely.
could be, but he could also be a
It's
winger.
up for the taking. It really
Uh,
is.
It's interesting
It's
because Suzuki and Hage can kind of flip flop between winger center depending on. Thing is
if it
though,
works.
Hage is a guy that drives up the middle. Suzuki drives up the boards, so it's kind of an interesting way of dealing with it. You would think a center would drive more up the middle, which is it works. And Hage and
But
Suzuki
at the end of the day, if one goes down the middle, one goes down the boards, you're still
getting
by name, okay, you're still getting the job done, whether it's the center doing it or the winger doing it. If they're both one of
yeah,
them is going by the side and one of them is going
yeah,
straight
it
up the
doesn't
middle,
matter. Like do you think it matter like do you think it matters? Let's say Suzuki takes the face off because he's got like experience, probably, and then
it could be that.
he ends up playing more of a wing role the rest of the shift, whereas Hage ends up playing more of like a center role, kind of on the offensive side. It
I don't have
doesn't
a problem with that at
we could
all.
work with that. Some people like that Canadian talk guy was saying like that's not possible. What are you talking about? It's not possible. It can be done. It can be done.
It happens a lot actually because like if you look,
Look, Kucherov or Kaprasov, there's all these guys.
yeah,
Demidov,
it
he's gonna do that.
happens.
Demidov is gonna go up the middle, but I don't think Demidov is gonna play much with Suzuki. I genuinely think Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky is gonna be a line again, and it's gonna be a line.
It has
10
experience to
years.
be for sure.
Look, they're the guys signed long term. You have
Yep.
one with 6 years left, one with seven, one with eight, or nine, actually. One has
Yeah.
nine, one has eight, and one has six. I think that's what it is. Yeah. After this year, Suzuki has five, Caulfield has six, and Slavkovsky will have eight. Yeah, that's what it is. That makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, no. And what do you think Suzuki's like point totals would look like over like consistently? Do you see him as a 90-point player, or do you see him more as like the 75 to 80? That's where I see him. Like he's not gonna be the guy that's typically gonna end with a
I
point a
think
game.
I see him as the 70. Yeah, exactly.
What he
70,
is
80.
now is what he's gonna be. But once he has better players around him, it's
Yeah, the team's
gonna
gonna
just
excel
kind of
around him
fit
for
in
sure.
well. But he's
It's
still
gonna,
gonna
yeah.
produce the same way, but maybe he'll be more consistent about it. And it
Yep.
won't have to be
Yeah,
in big shots of
these stretches are
four
gonna become
points,
less and
two
less of a
points,
thing.
That's the thing, because he gets like he has big nights and then he has nights where he's invisible.
And it's even the team reflects that too. The team will have those games where it's not just him, it's everyone. But
Yeah.
I mean that as
No,
your team
this
gets
year
better,
everyone
those games
is
happen less and less.
inconsistent. I'm sure you've heard. I don't know if you've listened to Tony Marinaro's podcast. Like he
I've listened to
talks
it
a
a few
lot
times. I
about
like him. I like
he
him.
talks a lot about Suzuki being inconsistent. Sure, he's inconsistent, but
But
he's
look at the
always
team
been.
around him.
But well, there are guys around him. It's just
No, I
Caulfield will
said I
never
know, but I
be
mean the team
consistent.
around him.
Caulfield could never be consistent. He's the
I think one day
definition of a
he
guy.
could. No, I
His
think
type
he
of
could be
player,
one day.
You can't be consistent. An NHL goal scorer, like pure goal scorer, can never be 100% consistent unless you're Alex Ovechkin or Mike
David
Bossy.
Pastrnak, like, look
No,
at
not
Austin.
really.
Well, Matthews is a goal scorer, no?
Pasternak this year is having a nightmare year.
Yeah, okay, but look at his lineup.
Yeah, well,
Bergeron, he was a beast from 2011.
yeah, well, Bergeron's
Well, I mean
Bergeron.
not 2011, but like later on, he
Then
wasn't
again,
there with the team. He wasn't
Suzuki
with the team then.
is like a Bergeron a level down, and that's what he'll always be.
I would argue more than a level down, but yeah,
Couple levels down, two
yeah,
level.
a couple levels down. Yeah,
Okay, but we know he plays a similar game to that, but it will never be Bergeron's level or even
no,
a Barkov level. I do know he is like one step below Barkov, maybe two.
yeah, I
Eh,
would put him closer to Barkov,
he's
but
closer to
like,
Barkov. Barkov's not Bergeron, but Barkov puts up more points.
yeah,
He's better offensively than
yeah,
Bergeron was. But
yeah,
overall two-way game, there's not anyone that could beat Bergeron. He could win. He could go start in the NHL again tomorrow, and he'd probably still win the Selke this year.
yeah,
If he came out of retirement tomorrow morning,
yeah,
it'd be enough to win the Selke. Just it
yeah.
was time.
It's time for sure, but
He was that good, and
he really was that good.
you can't really get another one. It's nice. Suzuki is a low end first line center,
Oh, I'm not complaining about Suzuki. Like,
but
don't think that at all.
we
Like,
can't
I love him.
expect him to carry a team because we see he can't do it.
So
The only player that can really carry a team is McDavid and Draisaitl together.
yeah, so if you could answer this question, who are we building around? Is it Slakowski? Or
It's
is there one set of guy? Is there one guy that we're building around, or is it multiple guys we're building around?
multiple. We can't build around one.
I kind of think that that's the problem.
You can't. Yeah, but if you sometimes, do you think Boston was building around just Bergeron? They had Chara. They had all these guys that.
Yeah, but you can say that, but they did have multiple guys. Don't get me wrong, but it felt like Bergeron was the nucleus.
Right.
It felt like everything worked around him. Now, that doesn't mean that Pastrnak or Marchand, they weren't pieces, because they absolutely are. But look at the way how Marchand is now getting treated. Or Marchand is like, they're looking at him now like, okay, well, and he's the captain.
But
Like,
and people are saying that he's failing as captain.
so at the end of the day, Boston is still circling around one guy.
Yeah, but think so. You're saying the Habs are circling around Suzuki the same way? If the Bruins are circling around
I don't
Marchand
think
right now,
Suzuki's. I'm not saying Suzuki. Like, I'm saying that, like, is Demidov going to be the guy that we build around?
yes. If we're gonna build around one guy, it's Demko.
It has to be him,
There's
right?
not a
That's what
better
I'm
player.
thinking. There's not
We
a better
won't
player.
even.
I agree with that.
I don't even think we can get a better player, even if we draft number one in this upcoming draft.
I agree. I agree with
It-
that.
you know,
Anyway, that's just something that's been on my mind, because, like, I look at all these other teams, and there's at least one piece that they can look to and go, okay, we have, like, Buffalo, it was Eichel. Edmonton is obviously McDavid, but that's a superstar. Like,
but
you're not going to
yeah,
have those.
you don't
Like, every team has that one player, I think.
look at.
Or
Tell me who was that player when St. Louis won the cup? Who was the player? Tell me who the player they built around
I mean,
was.
you can argue it's Binnington.
Bennington just showed up out of nowhere, got really, really hot, and you can't really say that.
Pat
And he's
Maroon.
gonna be our goalie for the Four Nations, by the way, because of that. I've heard.
Okay, not to start a whole other conversation, but how have we not mentioned Marc Andre Fleury?
I know he should be more. They don't mention him enough.
They don't mention him enough. It's if it's not, I think he confirmed it. It's his last season, like,
Yeah,
playing.
this is his
Like,
last season. He's mentioned.
right?
You know it's his last season.
So
He's not coming back next year.
what's the shade of not putting him in this term? Like, who's better? Is it Bennington or Marc Andre Fleury? Because you can argue it's a fight. It's a challenge. You have to think
It's
about
hard
it.
to say, but I would
It's hard to say.
probably give the slight edge to Marc-Andre Fleury still.
Wow.
Like I haven't
Even if
really
you
watched.
said even if you did say Bennington, that leaves you at Marc Andre Fleury at number 2.
Yeah, actually,
Like,
the best
put him in the
goalie
lineup
from Canada right now is Cam Talbot. Straight up,
Yeah. So he's on Detroit now, right? Or where is he at?
I would go with Cam
Pittsburgh?
Talbot. Would be the number one goalie for Canada right now.
What NHL team is he on? I forget.
He's on right now. He's on Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
I
Yeah, he's
think
on Detroit.
I didn't even realize. I thought for some reason I thought he was still playing for the Kings, but yeah,
No,
on
yeah.
Detroit now.
I know he moved a couple of years, yeah.
He moves a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, he's
And I mean that's not really a bolstered defense, but those guys,
there's gonna be it's gonna be an amazing defense.
it will be
Oh
an
wow,
amazing defense. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be an amazing defense, and yeah, I look forward to it. And I think next week we'll kind of know, so maybe we can discuss it next week more about that.
Anyway, like I haven't heard his name at all, and he's still playing. So that was just I just
Yeah,
wanted to throw that in there.
yeah. So let's see where Marc-Andre Fleury is, though. Just
Yeah.
I know the other one that they were looking at is Aiden Hill. He's got an 895 save percentage, which is
What is Flurry's
worse.
out of curiosity?
Where is Fleury? Let's find out.
Let's see.
That's where I'm trying to find out where Fleury is.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't
Here,
played much though. It might be because if I go to you got to be kidding me.
five
There's
games.
no way.
Five. Yeah, there's 5 games this season.
What's his
A
save
904
percentage?
save percentage.
Okay, there
904
you go. He's got a bit. Yeah, okay. I see it now.
out of five
He's got a
games though,
better
but
save
still.
percentage than Binnington and all that.
Yeah. I don't know.
So like, I mean,
Well,
you might
not
as
last
well
dance. Give it to Flurry. Like, even not. Just put him in.
make
Like
it.
make
What
him a third stringer.
would you
Make him
go
a backup
Aiden
and a
Hill,
third stringer.
Fleury, and Binnington, or would you
Yes.
give one to Cam Talbot, who has been the best?
Or if you want to give one to Cam Talbot, then you take off Aiden Hill.
Yeah, I mean Aiden Hill. It's just because he won a Stanley Cup, but did you see that team in Vegas? He didn't have to do anything. I will
Well, I
give
mean,
credit to Binnington for winning the Stanley Cup. I don't give much to Aiden Hill. He didn't have to do anything, really. Well, he had
yeah,
to make some saves, but
he had to make some saves, but I agree.
like he didn't have to be that great. He had to be like I always say this. I don't know about Chris Osgood. Like I think he's in the
Or
hockey.
well, you say Corey Crawford.
Yeah, Corey. Okay, there you go. I mean,
That's
like,
a good comparable.
but Corey Crawford wasn't bad either, and Chris Osgood
He
either.
was he was an above average goalie, but the
Yeah,
defense on
they're above
Chicago
average
was
goalies, but they're not guys that you can really say like, oh yeah, they were stars or anything. Binnington had 1 year where he just kind of broke out as a rookie. Same thing as Cam Ward. Remember Cam Ward? He's Binnington is exactly Cam Ward esque. Like it's pretty much the same.
it's pretty much the same.
He
Yeah,
never really did anything huge after that one
for
cup
now.
run in
For
'06.
now,
And Binnington looks like he's gonna be the same way. Hey, look,
doesn't mean he's not a bad goalie. Like
no,
you look at Cam
he's a
Ward, you
starting
can't.
goalie, but
He's a
it's not.
starting goalie.
But he's
I put him
an
on my team.
average starter at best, just average. You can argue Bennington's actually below average even.
Well, right now, yeah, but I
I
mean,
mean,
St.
even
Louis isn't in the
Montembeau's,
greatest spot.
even Monty, it's just up and down because he has like the best nights and then the worst nights,
Yeah, I hope like when he's in it, I feel like there's a good
and that's
chance,
life.
but it's and it's
Montembeau's
goalies,
been in the
right?
discussion.
Yeah, but I'm not really too worried about him. Yeah, sure, he'll lay a couple of eggs, but like look at the teams that he did it against. It's Vegas and the Rangers.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I give him that. You know,
yeah. He just those were the two. Yeah, he just had a bad night against the Rangers. Did you hear? He even
the
mentioned
whole
like
the whole team did,
yeah, well, everyone did except for Suzuki. Everyone
except
but
for
Suzuki.
Suzuki. Yeah,
If one thing is, Suzuki was the only one that stood out that game. Probably Gallagher too, but like even that I can remember what
yeah.
Gallagher did. But Gallagher shows up every night. It doesn't really change much.
He tries to, if anything. At the
Some
very
nights
least, he
but it wasn't
tries.
working for and his line mates that night. That's
Yeah,
for sure. That was the worst
yeah.
game of the season,
It
hands
was.
down,
It
except for
was.
Suzuki again. But
Yeah,
see, there was a bright spot in that game. What bright
yeah.
spot do we have against Seattle? I can't quite remember. Yeah,
You're kidding, right?
the game against Seattle. Do you remember? 8-2.
Yeah. It was eight. Oh, yeah, but yeah, that's why I said you're kidding, right?
Okay, I thought you were like saying like you actually think like there of course what are you talking about? There definitely is a bright spot. No, no, there was nothing.
That's what I
against.
was saying. I was saying you're kidding. Like you have to be because what was there?
There was nothing. There was
There,
nothing.
it was tough. Yeah, Brandon Montour was the freaking highlight of the game.
There
That's
you
what it was.
go.
But it
There
wasn't even
you
for us.
No, no, exactly. It was just making money off Brendan
It
Montour's
was
hat
Lane
trick.
Hutson's ice time. That's the positive of that night, I
Yeah,
guess.
there you go.
If you want to put it that way.
You had a high ice time. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, so we'll talk a bit more again about the Four Nations next week, as well as
Sure.
the
Yeah.
Habs games against the Rangers, Bruins, and who they playing on Tuesday? I think it
It
could be Nashville. Oh no,
is
it's the Ducks, no?
the Islanders, no?
Islanders. Oh
Let me
no,
check.
Washington. It's Washington. I
So
remember seeing that now.
it's Rangers Saturday. It's Boston the Sunday, and Islanders on the Tuesday.
It's Islanders on Tuesday?
Yeah,
Okay, I might be mixing up dates. Yeah, that's my bad. I'm
I'm not
mixing
sure
up
if you see
dates.
it, but yeah, Islanders on the Tuesday, Preds on the Thursday, Capitals on the Saturday. The Habs and the Capitals on a Saturday night. Those games are always must watch.
Yeah, they're fun.
Now, I mean, Ovi's not there, but still, those are always must watch.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah,
Yeah, so there we go.
all right,
All right, thanks. This has
let's finish
been
it
the
off.
Canadians Cafe with Nick and Grant. Have a great week, everyone.
Yep. Hopefully, you get some wins under the belt.
Yeah, hopefully. My prediction is 1-1-1. Oh no, 1-2. They'll
1 and 2.
beat they'll beat Boston just because I think Boston is going downhill and they'll lose to the Rangers and the Islanders.
I'm gonna say revenge game versus the Rangers. We get a nice win, and Boston. What the hell? We'll get a win versus them too.
Oh
I'm
wow.
hopeful. I'm hopeful. Back to
Optimistic
back
there.
wins. Back to back wins. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. We'll see how this goes. We'll have
Yep.
to look into this next week.
All right.
Anyways, this has been your Canadians Cafe, and have a good night, everyone.
Until next time.
Bye.
All right. Bye.